Hello everyone, this is Damon with PixNub Software, and for this video I'll be doing an extraction that is more difficult than just a one-click extraction. But really, if you know what you're doing with an extraction like this, it shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes. And I will slow down for this video to explain everything, but really any image like this I can almost always do in less than 2 minutes. So with this image, there's some stuff outside of the screen that's going to need to get erased. That's no big deal. But the bigger issue is the different shades of green. You see that our screen is a hue of 132, saturation 76, brightness 73 up in this brightly lit area. But if I come down to some of these shadowed areas, you see the brightness there drops below 20%. It's 18% brightness. So our screen is ranging from getting near black in the shadow areas all the way up to a pretty bright green. And one of the problems is going to be this Gaff tape. You see that when I sampled that, the hue was 126, whereas our screen was in the 130s wherever I sampled. So this is closer to true green. True green, by the way, is 120, so it's closer to true green. Also, the saturation and brightness of this is more than the screen. So this is actually a truer chroma green color than the screen. So that can confuse the auto algorithm to key off of this color, which will leave the screen partially transparent, partially opaque. Let's just demonstrate that here. I'm just going to run easy green screen. And now if I view the mask, I can see that the gaffer's tape is completely black, so that's transparent in the mask. And the screen is partially transparent, and we can see that here. Now that again is because it keyed off of the color of the gaff tape there. So often what people don't realize is it's much easier just to do this in Photoshop after this than to do it all within Easy Green Screen. So I'm just going to hit apply. Now, Easy Green Screen already creates a really good layer set for editing everything in Photoshop. And so most green screen software is just going to give you a layer with transparency, but instead what Easy Green Screen does is it leaves you the original image, but then it uses a mask for the transparency, and then it uses layers above that for the spill correction. So it gives you complete flexibility to adjust everything. So if I hold the Alt key on Windows or Option key on Mac and go into the mask, I'm just going to adjust the levels on the mask to make this screen completely transparent, or I might not go all the way with it. It just depends on each image, and I'll explain in a bit here. But I'm not going to use the keyboard shortcuts just so you can follow me a little bit better. I'm just going to go Image, Adjustments, and Levels, which is Control-L Windows or Command-L Mac. And then I'm adjusting the levels of the screen itself. So if I come all the way over here, you see that the screen is completely erased, but that's going to leave the hair a little bit hard edges, which I don't want. So I'm going to back this off to where I think that the hair might still have some decent soft edges, but to where the screen is erased enough to where I think it'll be easy to touch anything up further. So I'm just going to hit OK there. If I go back out to the, by the way, if I just click on the layer, I'm now viewing the layer again. And again, that was Alt click on Windows or Option click on Mac to view in the mask. I click on the layer, now I'm viewing the layer stack as it's merged together. Okay, and so the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to clear everything outside of this screen. Now I already know that this select subject only mode, the default is 100 by the way, but I know that this mode does have issues. I'm going to turn the radius down to 30. I'm just going to run this. I'm going to explain here what this is doing. Anything greater than 30 pixels away from the subject, it's trying to erase. But in the case of this image, using the select subject only mode erased part of these pants. And I think that has to do with the green belt and the fact that there was green spill and a green belt. I think it just confused the algorithm. So if I Control Z to undo this, if I use this select subject plus face detect full, and I have another video that discusses all this in more detail, but again I'm going to use that radius of 30 And that's because we're fairly close to the edge. And it'd be easy to touch up anyway, but the higher the value is, the further away from the edge that it's starting the clear on that. Anyway, I'm just going to do select subject full. I suggest watching the select subject modes video so it shows you how to do that. I got a really in-depth tutorial on that. All right, so that did a pretty good job. There's a little piece by the foot that didn't get erased, but that's okay. We'll come back in and touch that up in a minute. So the next thing is to notice is that this belt is still partially erased, and there's also spill correction being applied, because you see that, well, we can't really see the belt because a lot of it's erased, but it's supposed to be green. And so anytime you have an area that's green, like in the uniform or whatever, that you need touched up, in this panel here, the Add Manual Recover layer is what you want to use. This will make more sense as soon as it pops up. So what this does is this it runs the select subject and creates a selection for you, which you can modify if you want. And as mentioned, that select subject, when we did the auto clear, that select subject didn't work well. Well, it didn't work well here either. So what I'm going to do is come in and I think use the quick select or magic wand, whatever you want to use. It's up to you. It might depend on the image too. But I'm just going to add to this selection until I get a selection that looks like it's fairly close. And that way I know that I can paint over any of the edges in this selection and we don't have to paint right on the edge. So I'll just demonstrate here. This Add Manual Recovery layer, this added a layer with the original image, but it put a black mask on there, so it's not actually showing any of this layer until we paint. So we can come in here and make sure that this foreground swatch is set all the way to white. And then if you grab the paintbrush tool, make it a little bit bigger here, I can just start painting over like the areas where we had that greenish shirt and then the green belt. I'm just painting these areas back into the image. Now, a mistake I see a lot of people make is they want to use this layer to recover everything. So the areas in these pants, for example, if we use this to recover where there was heavy green spill, so that got partially erased. But if we recover it in here, you're going to lose the spill correction because this layer is on top of the spill correction layers, which are these layers in here. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that. Instead, the only thing you need to do is click in this foreground mask here and then grab that white paintbrush and paint. And remember, since we're on the mask because we see the border around that mask, we're actually painting in the mask and not on the layer. So if you were in the layer itself and painting, oops, I'm on black there, but let's say you were in the layer painting white, which is not what you want. If you see this happen, it means that you're on the layer instead of on the mask. So let me undo that. Make sure we're on the mask. I'm just going to paint right in there, and I'm recovering. And there was a spot here where the select subject wasn't perfect. So if I go into there and click on my black brush, I can undo that and go back into this other layer here. Anyway, somewhere in there. Again, if the area is supposed to be green, you want to paint in the Manual Recover layer where you don't want spill correction. If you want to recover your foreground, but you need the spill correction, you're painting in the foreground layer. I hope that makes sense. And the last thing to do is any of these final areas that touch up. I'm going to just deselect this here and zoom in. So if I click on this foreground mask, I'm going to grab the oops, I'm on the layer again. I did what I told you not to do. So click in the mask. Now, if I set this foreground brush to white, oh, by the way, the X key on your keyboard switches between foreground and background color. Now, if your foreground color is not set to black, let's say it's gray, for instance, I hit X, it just switches foreground to background. So you want to make sure you reset your swatches so it's black and white. And then if you hit the X, you can switch back and forth. So anyway, I'm going to be painting black where I want to paint off any of these areas. I mean, some of these shadows, they don't even recognize as green screen anymore. They're so dark. I mean, they're pretty much, as you can see, pure black. But you can go through and get as picky as you want with these touch-ups around the feet and around the legs here. But honestly, for feet like this, in my opinion, it's best just to throw some graphics over them and don't try to get too crazy with brushing around toes and such. Anyway, I hope that helps you. And just to recap, we extracted with Easy Green Screen without using any of the adjustments in Easy Green Screen. We came into our mask, we adjusted the levels, which you still see some of this in here, which I chose to not adjust the levels more to protect the hair, but this stuff all got erased, the extra by our other mask we have here, which was our auto clear. Then we used this add manual recover layer that created this layer, which we painted in anywhere we wanted green. And then we came into the foreground and we painted in anywhere that we needed to recover, but we wanted spill correction applied. So not too bad. And like I say, honestly, this image, if I was to guess, would have taken me 90 seconds tops if I was to do it without having to explain it here. Thanks for watching. And if you're interested at all in Easy Green Screen, please be sure to visit our website. That is easygreenscreen.com.